Greetings and konnichiwa, and welcome to the Onyx Tavern. I'm your host, Rick the Barkeep, bringing you episode 137 here at the Tavern, presented by HeroTaku.com. So, if you're into anything, whether it's, a franchise, a book, a movie, or anything like that, people are going to automatically assume that because you like that one thing, that you're immediately going to go ahead and like something that is loosely connected to that one thing. So, for example, I love Lord of the Rings. I love the movies. They were kind of what inspired me to get into filmmaking in the first place. I have all the movies on extended edition Blu-ray. I have the books, and believe it or not, I like the Hobbit films. As flawed as they may be, I still love them. I think they're great, and they're just enjoyable films. But because I enjoy Lord of the Rings, and I love Lord of the Rings, I'll just say that I love Lord of the Rings, people automatically assume that I like Harry Potter, or that I should like Harry Potter. Why? Because Harry Potter has magic and Lord of the Rings has magic? Because they kind of came out at the same time? It's always kind of fascinating for me that because you like something, that you have to like something that is somewhat similar. Now, I'm not saying it's like, like I like, as everybody knows, I like Star Trek. I think Deep Space Nine is the best series, and I like Star Trek The Next Generation. But it's not because they're two different things that are somewhat connected. They are the same thing. They're part of the same franchise. But with like Lord of the Rings and Harry Potter, they're two completely different things. And the thing is, I could care less about Harry Potter. Actually, I could not care less about Harry Potter. I don't want to read the books. I don't want to watch the movie. I don't care about the actors. I don't care about the mythology. I don't care about Quidditch or any of that other crap. It's just not my thing. It never was. It never will be. Okay? But because I like Lord of the Rings, don't assume that I have to like Harry Potter and keep trying to force it upon me, saying, dude, you have to watch it. 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 Um, it's just kind of like what people do. And here's the thing. I love Super Sentai and Power Rangers. And because of that, every week, I would say, I probably get a message from somebody or a post or something. It's like, dude, when are you going to go ahead and review Kamen Rider? Let's talk about Kamen Rider and all that kind of stuff. What do you think about the new series? What do you think about this? What do you think about yada yada, whatever and stuff? And it's not even stuff online too. I mean, I get from my students all the time. Ricky Sensei, Kamen Rider, do you like Kamen Rider? And I just want to do this video because I just want to kind of get it out there. I want to get it out of the way because I don't know how many times I really have to go ahead and say this, but I think I need to make a definitive video just so that my thoughts are out there and everybody's kind of clear on my thoughts on Kamen Rider as a franchise. Now, first, let me make something clear. The Onyx Tavern is and always will be directly associated with Power Rangers and Super Sentai. The whole reason I did the Onyx Tavern in the first place is I felt there was very little intellectual discussion about Super Sentai and Power Rangers on YouTube, okay? Yeah, you can go to Ranger Board, you can go to a couple of other places, but I don't see videos. All you see is damn top 10 videos of the best morphs and best opening sequences. That's it. Not too many people out there talking about it in depth as much as I do. And the thing is, you have 20 some years of the Power Rangers franchise, 40 years of Super Sentai franchise. I got about 60 years worth of material to work with. I don't need to venture out into anything else. And to be completely honest with you guys, I'm just not interested in Kamen Rider. I'm really not. Um, when I look at it, I'm like, yeah, that's interesting, but that's just not for me. I mean, I've seen the images, I've seen some clips, I've seen some fights. Now here's the thing: I've watched the Superhero Tanzen movie, where basically Kamen Rider versus Super Sentai, and I thought, okay, you know what? I'll give it a shot. It's Super Sentai versus Kamen Rider. That's a pretty good premise and all that. Now here was the problem: the movie, I felt, and this was the first one, not the one with the male heroes. I haven't seen that one yet, but the first one that they did, I think this was the Z movie. Again, the title is so confusing. The movie to me focused more on Kamen Rider than it did on Super Sentai. And because of that, I was really lost because I knew none of the mythology, and the show, or excuse me, the movie doesn't really get you acclimated to it. Doesn't really tell you what's going on. It's just like he's there, she's there, they're there, they're doing this, and you don't know anything about it. And to be fair, I'm assuming this movie is made for people who both have seen Super Sentai and have watched Kamen Rider. Much in the same way the Flintstones Meet the Jetsons is made for people who've seen both the Jetsons and the Flintstones. You're going to be lost if you don't go in to see one or the other. So it's fair to make that basis for the film. But even going into the film, not knowing anything about Kamen Rider, I didn't come out of the film wanting to know more about Kamen Rider. Watching, the villains, watching the heroes all get together, it didn't make me want to know. I mean, there's that scene where the Gokaiger get on the train and go back to 1975, and there are all these weird ass people up on the train. Now, I have no idea who any of them are, but I'm not compelled to know who any of them are. I look at that and I'm just not interested. Now, I'm not saying the same thing with the filmmakers or anything, but it's just like nothing that you show me regarding Kamen Rider has made me interested in wanting to know anything about it. So coming out of that film, that didn't help me for one. Second, yes, I did watch Mask Rider as a kid. I saw the episode where he appeared on Power Rangers. I thought that was a good episode. I watched the series for maybe the first season, and it just wasn't for me. It wasn't a show that I was particularly interested in. I didn't like the character of Dex that much. I didn't like that it was set on Earth. I didn't like the talking car and motorcycle, and I definitely didn't like Furby or Furbus. Well, what's the difference, really? I wasn't interested in any of those elements. Now, I did like it when the Rangers met them in Friend in Need because they went to an alien world, an alien situation with a bunch of aliens and an invasion story. I mean, if the whole series of Masked Rider was basically the Bajoran occupation with superpowers, then I might have been interested in that show. But I just wasn't. It never resonated with me. Dragon Knight came out several years ago, but you know what? I never knew it was on until after it was off the air. Honestly, the promotion for that was just horrible, but I haven't seen it, and I haven't really tried to track it down. The thing is, there's nothing about Kamen Rider that really appeals to me. It's just not something that I'm really interested in. I mean, when Kamen Rider Ghost came out, I did not know until all my students started telling me because they're like Kamen Rider Ghost and stuff, and I'm like, okay, Kamen Rider Ghost, go enjoy it. But they want to ask me if I liked it, and I was like, well, I haven't seen it. And again, they keep asking me like, have you seen it? Do you want to see it? Do you like it? I was like, I don't want to. I'm just not interested in that particular show. And let me give you a couple of reasons why I'm just not interested in Kamen Rider. First of all, it's about a singular hero. Now, I have done some research on Kamen Rider, just kind of gone on the wikis and whatnot and stuff, and I know that there is a cast of characters, and then a lot of times there are multiple writers within a particular season. But it is my understanding, through most of it, that it is based on a singular character at the beginning, and he does have a support staff. That the main writer is the focus of the show, and then you have all these supporting characters. The truth is, actually, let me back up a little bit. Here's something I want to go ahead and point out. So, I am a fan of the DCAU. Bruce Timm's work is amazing and all that. And he said it was probably an IO commentary for World's Finest. At least I think that's what it is. I can't remember where he said it. But he said when he went into doing Superman, the first thing people said after doing Superman the animated series was like, when is Batman going to show up? And he said something to the effect that he could not fathom why people always wanted to see superheroes team up. Because kind of in his opinion, one superhero is enough. You got enough stories to go ahead and tell about them. And that's true to an extent. But what has things like Justice League, like the Avengers, like Power Rangers, what has all that kind of stuff taught us is that people do like, multiple characters. They do like having their superheroes together. They like ensemble casts. Goes back to another reason why I like, Star Trek is because they have ensemble casts. They have the crew of Deep Space Nine. It's not about Cisco. It's about Cisco and Dax and Bashir and O'Brien and Odo and Quark and Garrick. It's about all those guys. And the same thing about Super Sentai Power Rangers. It's not just about the Red Ranger, even though it may appear that way in a lot of cases. It is about the 5 Rangers. We focus on them. We have stories about them. Sometimes they're successful, sometimes they're not. Same way with the Avengers. We focus a lot on Iron Man, Captain America, but we don't get a lot of time with Hawkeye. And apparently when we do focus on Hawkeye, nobody cares. But whatever. The thing is, I'm not that interested in singular superheroes. I like teams of superheroes. So when we start with 5 Rangers at the beginning of the series, I like that because you have 5 different personalities that can all work off each other. One of the more successful things I would say about Jetman, because I finally finished Jetman, believe it or not, one of the more successful things about Jetman is they do have interpersonal conflicts and they have different personalities that work off of each other. And they are all superheroes. Now, you can say the same thing about Kamen Rider and so forth, but I link it to more like the Iron Man films, that you have Robert Downey Jr., who is the main focus of the film, and he does have additional characters that he's talking to. He's got Pepper Potts, he's got Obadiah, he's got Happy. He's got these other guys. He's got other people around him. But I would argue with Iron Man, it's more interesting when he's on a team with the other Avengers. Don't get me wrong, his films, solo films are okay, but I like it better when he's working with other super-powered heroes. And I feel the same way about Kamen Rider. Now, yes, again, I'm going to emphasize this. I know that there are going to be multiple writers on a lot of shows. But look at Masked Rider. I'm just going to use this as a basic example. It was just Dex in the series. I think somebody came along later towards the end of the series, but it was just him in the show. And he doesn't have another superhero to fall back on. They have to be cut. Here's the thing. The problem I see with Masked Rider, from my recollection of the series, is because he didn't have another superhero to interact with. That's why they made his car talk. That's why they made his motorcycle talk. That's why they gave him a brother and a sister and a mom and a dad. That's why they gave him this entire cast of people who are non-powered heroes who really don't figure into the story. That's why they gave him Phoebus, of all things. But what if it was Dex and the 2 other characters from A Friend in Need that came down and they became a team of Masked Riders trying to stop Count Dreg from taking over the Earth? Then I would have found that a lot more interesting. I mean, here's the thing, guys. When I'm done with watching every Super Sentai there is, whenever that's going to go ahead and happen, I'm not going to immediately go into Kamen Rider and start watching those episodes and talk about them. You know what I am more likely to do? I'm more likely to look at Metal Hero. Because the thing is, while there are a couple of Metal Hero series like Gavin, which are singular and by themselves, there are the B-Fighter series, there's Blue SWAT, there's a bunch of these others where they are ensemble teams. And again, I just like teams. And I would be more interested in watching that than watching this Kamen Rider Ghost, which, to my knowledge, right now only has the one character, has the one Kamen Rider. Because, again, it's called Power Rangers, it's called Ninjas. It's not... It's not Kamen Riders, except when they're in the movies together, when they do the crossover. So, it's just something that doesn't appeal to me. Also, the insect thing doesn't appeal to me, and frankly... And I know this is going to sound stupid to a lot of people, but they don't have Zords. I like giant robots, and the fact that they don't really have any in Kamen Rider is just like, well, they don't have giant robots, so I'm not particularly interested. Now, that's not to say that I wouldn't be interested in a Power Ranger series that doesn't have giant robots. I mean, look at Go Ranger and Jacka. They just have the sky ships and all that. But, of course, that's before the giant robot motif actually came into the series. But they can fall back on the team dynamics. I mean, they had, what was it, 80-some episodes for Go Ranger? And they only had the one sky ship and was destroyed. They had to replace it with another one. But that's all they had. But they still had the 5 characters with the different personalities working off each other to tell stories. That's the kind of stuff I'm more interested in. And I'm not saying Kamen Rider doesn't have it. It's just that by looking at it and by seeing what I'm seeing, what is being presented to me as a non-fan, as a non-viewer, is not enough to entice me. A singular hero with a bunch of locks or a car or hood over him or whatever, that kind of stuff is just not appealing to me as a fan of other things. So, again, it's just something I'm not going to get into, and I don't think anybody can really go ahead and persuade me. Unless unless if the next Kamen Rider series after Ghost is Kamen Riders Unite or something, and it has 5 Kamen Riders and all that. That may be the point in which I will get into it and start and give it a chance, because it's got an ensemble team. But they don't. You may add more guys throughout the series, but I'm just not interested in shows that focus on a singular hero. For as much as I like Batman the Animated Series and Superman the Animated Series, Justice League is a lot more fun because they have an ensemble cast. You see, what kind of conversation does the Flash and Wonder Woman have? How does Batman relate to Green Lantern and all that? Those are the kinds of things I want to see. Different super-powered people with different outlooks is just something I'm a lot more interested in watching. And and just as a question to everybody, please answer this in the comments below, because I can't find a satisfactory answer, I guess, is how come all the main Kamen Riders from the start of the series are male? How come none of them have a lead female? That's just something I'm really curious about, because apparently there are like girls who do get Kamen Rider powers later in the show, or they get them temporarily or something. But I remember watching the movie where they cross over Super Sentai. I'm just like, where are all the female riders? Aren't there no women here or something? And I tried looking it up, and I really couldn't find a satisfactory answer to that question. So please leave a comment below, because I'm really curious why in that whole crossover movie there were no female characters. And if there were female characters, well, it wasn't obvious, is the best I can go ahead and say. All right, so that's pretty much what I have. And again, I'm not trying to bash it. If you like it, if it's your thing, great and all that. It's just something that doesn't appeal to me. So I'm not going to go ahead and talk about Kamen Rider. I'm not going to talk about Master Rider. The only time I will talk anything about them is if they are in relation to Super Sentai and Power Rangers. And once again, the reason I did not talk about the crossovers with Kamen Rider and Super Sentai is because they were episodes of Kamen Rider and not episodes of Super Sentai. That's why when Go Buster came on with the male hero showing up, Gavin, I believe, the next generation of him, I watched that and I talked about it in my review of the Go Buster series, because they were on the Go Buster show. I mean, if the Go Busters went and appeared in Kamen Rider, I would not have talked about it, because it's not a Go Buster episode, so it has no bearing to me. So that's it, guys. That's all I really have to say about Kamen Rider. Go ahead and enjoy it if you like, but for me, I'm just going to stick with Super Sentai and Power Rangers, and once that's done, you know, again, maybe I'll go on the male heroes. Maybe I'll talk about something completely different and all that. But just Kamen Rider is not on my radar right now. It's not going to be for a while. So just please stop asking for Kamen Rider commentary and videos and stuff, because again, it's just something I'm not going to go ahead and do. But I do want to thank you guys for listening. I hope you understand and all that. I don't want to disappoint anybody out there, but that's just the way it is. But I do want to thank you for listening. Have a good evening. And the tavern is now closed.